A former Straits Times journalist turned youth pastor and cancer survivor, Cecilia Chan has lived an eventful life. Hear how her passion to empower young people acts as a common thread, stringing the highs and lows of her life together. Hi, I'm Rinnah Tan, and this is the Passion People podcast, a fun and honest podcast featuring guests who share their personal journeys in pursuing their passions full-time. Here with me today is Cecilia Chan.
I was in my 20s when I left the Straits Times to pioneer a church. Now, I know it was a crazy and pretty wild decision. Yeah, it was crazy enough to leave my job security to pioneer something or anything. So our youth church, we started out as a small group in my late brother's house. Amusing as it may sound, my brothers were a little worried that I had resigned from my stable job as a journalist. So I guess opening up their houses for my youth was their way of expressing support for their little sister's bewildering life choices.
You must have worried them to death.
Yeah, I must have. I mean, I can understand why. Because, for the first few years of pioneering the church, we did not take a salary. So we even used our own savings to bus in kids to church where they can have fun. Living on a dream and fresh air is what we call it. But we had a vision that we could build a church operated by youths for youths to reach youths. And we did manage to widen our reach over the last 20 years. So from 9 kids in the pioneering days, now we have thousands of youths in our church whom we are empowering.
Wow, that must have been pretty tough. It must have been a pretty wild ride. So, where did all this passion come from to believe in young people?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Young people, when I look at things, young people have always been pushed to the sidelines or left behind in the background. And I'm very passionate about the fact that society should not look down on young people. Actually, they're the ones with the ideas, the creativity, the innovation. So, yeah,
that's so true. Yeah, and I was reading the book that you wrote with your husband, and there's so many stories of young people in your church, and I heard that you helped a young girl become an entrepreneur. So could you tell us that amazing story?
Yeah, there's this teenage girl, she grew up in our church, and she really loved flower arrangement, and she thought it was just going to be a hobby, but when we look at her, we could tell that she was really talented. So when she had finished school, we gave her some seed monies to start her own flower arrangement business. And right now she's doing really well, doing what she loves in her business. And that's just one example of how sometimes young people, they can't see their own abilities until you call it out of them. Now, I may not be a politician or an activist, and I probably don't have the power to implement worldwide policies. But you see, if I can just influence the direction in life that a young person takes in a very positive way, I would have impacted at least one person's world.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, I may not be able to change the world, but I can change my world. And we all can change our world one at a time.
Wow.
That's what I believe in, yeah.
That's good. Yeah, so, have there been any instances where you've doubted your pursuit for your passion, Did you at any point in time feel any regrets doing this?
Wow, that's a deep question. We had many tough battles. When we pioneered the church, we sold our house to fund the church and slept on the church floor till we got our next house. And we did that while I was pregnant, Wow, maybe that's why I only have one child. I also went through a really tough season in 2012 when I went through surgeries, chemotherapy, and radiation for stage 3 breast cancer. It wasn't a fun time, I know, but after my treatments were over, people asked me, how would I live life differently? Because many cancer survivors say, I want to retire and spend more time with my family. Some people say, I want to change to a job I love. Now, but not everyone is the same. For me, after cancer, I asked myself, should I change anything? And the answer is no, I wouldn't change anything. So my life has not changed after cancer. And there is no doubt at all that I'm going to continue to devote my life to young people. So the short answer, no doubts, no regrets. So that's what it is.
Yeah, so, before we end off our podcast here today, I think some people are dying to know one thing. Okay, maybe just me, but we want to know, what is one piece of advice you would tell your younger self right now?
Younger self, eat less, save more. But seriously, I think I would tell my younger self to celebrate more. In the earlier years, there was just so much to do, setting up things from scratch, helping the youth, thinking of how to pay the rent. And in the midst of all that busyness, we did not celebrate our victories properly because we were always busy moving on to solve the next problem and the next problem. So in recent years, we started to celebrate milestones deliberately. We try to savor every win and just remind ourselves that we've come so far. The celebration is important. It gives you fuel and it makes you fresh again. And I say this to young people all the time. You can't refresh others if you're not fresh. So don't be too quick to go on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. You should deliberately pause to celebrate your wins a little more, and then you will be fresh. And the end result is that you will carry on to inspire and refresh other people. That's my advice for young people.
Wow, that's so awesome. Thank you so much, Cecilia. Truly, it takes a heart full of tenacity and grit to pioneer a cause you're passionate for. Through Cecilia's life, we can see just that. And so that is all for this episode of the Passion People podcast. Signing off, I'm Rinnah Tan.